Hey guys, so a lot of news the last couple days that should deeply concern Latter-day Saints. So, as you all know, Trump posted on Truth Social that a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. And this brought online a ton of fury from people about this kind of rhetoric. What does this mean? Even the Latter-day Saint community was gratefully pushing back against this. And this was just on top of a lot of other stuff Trump was saying, that he was going to destroy their bridges and their power plants and bring them back to the Stone Age. And all of this is debatably a war crime, going after the people now, which is ironic because the whole war was started to liberate the people, but now you're going to destroy the people. And even Iranians who initially supported the war were pushing back against this as well. It's pretty horrible. And now, as you know, yesterday around 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Utah time, Trump announced that there's now this amazing ceasefire deal that's happening. And there's a 10-point plan coming from the Iranians that they're going to go through. Now, the funny thing is that 10-point plan was always on the table for a while from the Iranians. And it actually kind of puts them in a better spot than they were, which kind of says this whole thing was unnecessary and has actually lifted Iran up and its government up. Now, I'm not saying to break this ceasefire, because I think this war just needs to end, even if it means Donald Trump is surrendering here. But he's not going to frame it that way. You know he's not. But just go look at the 10-point plan and read it for yourself and see what it talks about. But yes, or a couple days ago, I made a post about how Trump's rhetoric contrasts and contradicts President Oak's talk. Go read President Oak's general conference talk. There's a lot of political underpinnings of it. Go check out my video too if you want to look into that as well. But in this video, I kind of want to take it a different direction and just talk about war and the Constitution. So President Oaks has asked us to defend the Constitution, and that means we need to learn about it. And I'm in this process of learning about it. I'm no master of the Constitution. But it does say that the power to declare war is given to Congress and not to the executive branch, the presidency. But Trump has found ways around that, and that's kind of what he does. I mean, he'll take legal cases and he'll break the law, twist the law, push the law, hold the law, do anything he can. And it's pretty horrible. We do need to recognize this because we see it everywhere. And I know we should be happy that this ceasefire deal happened. But if you take a step back, what we're seeing is Trump is pushing and testing and polling and trying to break the law and the Constitution in so many things, not just the war, but we're seeing it with what happened in Minnesota, pushing it as far as it can go until it's about to break, then pulling back, immigration, and just lots of other things, the Epstein files. And it's not good for our government. And frankly, Republicans need to step up more, especially in Utah. I'm disappointed that they just haven't stepped up and said anything about this. So this is on Trump, but it's also on the Republican Party as well. But Trump just finds these ways around it. It kind of makes me think of, I'm a parent and I have kids and I have a teenager, and you have a rule and the teenagers are trying their hardest to get around it and to make excuses and to say, well, you said this here and this here and this here. And I'm not a debater, so this is just frustrating to me. But the principle and the rule is still true. And I think that's the case here with the Constitution. Is we should look at the principle that the Constitution is saying here. Why does the Constitution give Congress these powers and not the presidency? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. A lot of it has to do with back then there were kings who would just take so much power over the people and ruin everything. And they didn't want that. And we don't want that. President Oaks, in his talk defending the Constitution, mentions more of this principle. He says another inspired principle of the Constitution is the separation of powers. And then he talks about these three different separation of powers. These three branches could exercise checks upon one another. And so what we're seeing here is basically an executive branch out of control that needs to be controlled, or it's going to ruin and damage us even more. It's already damaging us on the world stage, and now we're losing any respect we've had because we've lost the moral high ground. Maybe we've lost it a while ago, but what's the difference between Trump attacking Iran and Putin invading Ukraine? Both of them calling it a special operation, right? And so we're seeing this kind of like executive branch abusing power, and we're kind of in this limbo between checks and balances. And we need to do something to restore these checks and balances that President Oaks is talking about. One way is in November, vote to restore some checks and balances. And even if you're not a Democrat or don't like all Democrat ideas, you can still vote for Democrats so they could bring Trump and check him. And President Oaks has specifically said in this Defending the Constitution talk that it's okay to vote for the other party. Don't judge people who vote for other parties or who are in other parties. It's going to be a hard decision, but sometimes we need to decide what's more important. For me, I'd rather, I'm not a Democrat, I'm an independent, and I like a bit of everything from each party. For me, even though I don't necessarily agree with abortion and LGBT issues fully, I've changed a lot ever since leaving the Republican Party, but I still have issues with it, and I can see why conservatives had issues with things like wokeness and stuff. But I'd rather live in a country that can debate those things and push back against them than in a country that is close to authoritarianism and overreaching in its powers. It's kind of like Nero burning Rome down. That's kind of how it feels like right now. We're paying taxes to fund this war. I've heard estimates about $1 billion a day. We're paying to bomb school children buildings. We were almost about to pay to bomb civilian infrastructure. And who knows if this deal ceasefire is going to hold. I'm already hearing how different countries are trying to undermine the ceasefire because it doesn't really benefit Israel or even the other Middle Eastern countries. But there's just a ton of corruption happening here by the executive branch. If you'd be surprised if you look into how much bogus cases are the Department of Justice is bringing up and losing, and we're paying for all of that. And so we need some checks and balances. And as Latter-day Saints, I think we're in a position to understand this and do something about it. Whether it's just voting blue this November, whether it's just voicing our opinion online or liking other people's comments and videos online. I don't know what else can be done. Marjorie Taylor Greene is already calling for the 25th Amendment against Trump. But we'll see how all this plays out. I don't know if this deal is going to hold, but we need to keep in mind the Constitution over our political leanings and focus on that and remember the principles behind it, that Congress declares war because of the separation of powers here to keep each one in check. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.